Hello and welcome to Global Eye. With me, Parikshit Luthra. Our top story, President Xi Jinping is all set to clinch a third term at the 20th Party National Congress. This will make him the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao Zedong. What makes this meeting of top Chinese leaders so important? Well, this is the most important meeting of the Chinese Communist Party that will go on for 7 days in Tiananmen Square's Great Hall of People. 2,300 delegates will gather. 200 will be selected to join the Central Committee. The Central Committee will then elect 25 people to the Politburo, and the Politburo will appoint members of the Politburo Standing Committee. The 7-member, all-male Standing Committee, which includes Xi Jinping, the General Secretary, is the topmost decision-making body in China. Now, in the run-up to the Party Congress, more than 70 Chinese cities have been under lockdown. There has been strict enforcement of the zero-COVID strategy, despite severe economic disruptions, mind you. Police in Beijing were mobilized after a rare public protest against the zero-COVID strategy. We have also seen reports of increased internet censorship in the run-up to the Party Congress. The 69-year-old Xi Jinping is likely to win a third term that will further strengthen his control over the party. Xi's third term could mean a more authoritarian China. The Xi Jinping school of thought will be further enshrined in the party's constitution, according to experts. Now, under Xi's brand of Chinese socialism, we have seen a crackdown on many top Chinese companies across sectors. President Xi will open the Party Congress. The top leadership team will be announced. The world would be watching Xi's vision for the economy, politics, foreign policy, and climate change. Analysts across the world would like to see how China's policies over the next 5 years will address the economic slowdown that is going in China, the real estate sector crisis, and tech sector regulations as well. Let's open this up to our guests. We're joined by Einar Tangen, an expert on China's political affairs, and Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, former Indian ambassador to South Korea. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Einar Tangen, what, according to you, will be the most important takeaway from this Party Congress? It is being touted as the most important meeting of the Party Congress in its history.
Well, I don't know if it's the most important, but it certainly is, a very important one. What you're going to see here, there's two main themes. One is continuity. Right now, with the kind of headwinds that are being faced globally with the recession, inflation, wars, conflicts, America is in disarray. It's very important to China to show a unified face, and continuity is going to be it. And that's why Xi Jinping is going to get a very big boost from the party. No one wants anyone to think that can be divisions within it. But the second part is going to be preparing for the future. And by that, I mean they have to bring on the next generation of leaders. The Chinese Communist Party has identified long-term goals, 2049, et cetera, that they want to achieve. And if you're going to do that, you need to bring on the next set of leaders and prepare them. Under the Chinese system, they like to have somebody involved for at least 5 years before they, on the Standing Committee, before they can rise up to take, one of the two top roles, either premier or president. So at this juncture, it's all about those two issues. A lot of people talk about everything else, but the fact is, this is what is the main concern here in Beijing.
All right. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, as a former Indian diplomat, what would you be watching out for in terms of his approach to foreign policy and the world economy?
Good evening. The lineup that will come up after the coronation of Emperor Xi, the Party Congress will, in fact, it's the coronation party for President Xi. After the Party Congress is over, then the Central Committee, newly elected Central Committee would meet to rubber stamp the new Politburo and the Standing Committee. The members of the Standing Committee that will give some indication of the direction in which China is heading, because clearly the writ of President Xi is supreme. He is in complete command. He is in complete control. Observers are have noted that there is no leak whatsoever about what the new lineup is likely to be. So that is the kind of tight control he's exercising. And it will also depend on the age of the new Politburo, whether those who are in their 50s are brought in, or somebody in the 60s is brought in, born in the 60s. If somebody or two members or three members in the standing committee are born in the 60s, then it will acquire a different complexion. Whether Li Keqiang, the premier, continues, does not continue. So there are, at the moment, lots of speculation. The only certainty is that President Xi will be elevated as the new paramount leader. Already the Chinese media is calling him the helmsman, the people's leader, etc., titles which have been associated with Chairman Mao. So it is a watershed moment in the Chinese history, and the personalized dictatorship, era of personalized dictatorship of President Xi will be unveiled through after the party congress.
Right. Einar Tangen, do you feel that there will be a change in some of the economic policies in China, especially the zero COVID strategy? It has been very disruptive. Do you think after the party congress, once he gets a unprecedented third term, things will change as far as the COVID strategy goes?
No, I mean, the COVID strategy here is dictated by science, not politics. We've seen what happens when you try to mix politics with COVID. It's not pretty. So, you know, at this juncture, they're going to follow it. Their main concern at this point is what's called long COVID. 17 million people in Europe alone have it. In the United States, 500,000 workers have been affected. They've moved from the productive side of the equation to now being a drag on society because they're no longer able to be fully functional. There's real concerns when you start multiplying those numbers times the number of people in China. And they're very concerned about that. They've also been a little bit remiss in terms of pushing vaccines. You really need to have a vaccine within the last 6 months to have it be very effective. After 6 months, it's probably time to get a booster. I imagine that once they start embarking on a serious vaccine drive, then you'll know that that's the time when things will open up. I can tell you this, that throughout China right now, they're building intensive care wards, not just in the cities, second, third, fourth-tier cities, but even in large villages. And this, you know, obviously they're building these so that they can handle an influx of people if in fact they do get sick. They've also acquired medicines that will allow them to treat people who decide not to have the vaccine and you know, get sick. They want to take care of these people. Remember, you can say what you want about China, but they have protected their people the best of any nation in the world, regardless of size. If you start looking at the mortality rates and the number of people who've caught it.
Right. Ambassador Prakash, to come to you right now, when it comes to India-China relations, a lot of the global media reports, the Western media reports have been saying that we will see a more authoritarian China. So do you feel that issues such as the dispute at the Indo-China border, we will expect President Xi to take a harder stand, a tougher stand?
Well, let us see what he has done so far. During 10 years of his rule, there have been increasing number of standoffs, and frankly, the way they went about violating and tearing up all the CBA confidence building measures, the agreements, and the commitments that were given in 14 meetings with Prime Minister Modi is indicative of the kind of disposition that President Xi Jinping has. Not only with India, China today is at odds with most of its neighbors, and the kind of aggressive policies that are being followed are boomeranging, or there is a pushback. So now the question is whether it will be business as usual, in that he will want to take on any and everybody, or there is likely to be some change. We are not betting on any change, because it would appear that once all restraints on him are off, and he is basically the authoritarian leader, And the general belief is that he, without any restrictions on him now, he will take even a more aggressive stance vis-a-vis all his neighbors, including India, and we are prepared for that.
Right. So you're saying we will possibly see a tougher President Xi Jinping. Let me get in Einar Tangen once again. Einar, the kind of issues that we see facing the Chinese economy right now, the real estate crisis, the slowdown in the economy, do you think, and does the Chinese media also believe that there will be hints for an economic roadmap in his opening speech at the party Congress?
There'll be a talk. The party is more about setting goals. The government itself, there will be another meeting in March. They'll have an actual government report. Here, they will have a party report. They will be talking about how well they have done against the benchmarks they set previously. They'll go for it. It's a very thorough report. And they talk about areas where they need to improve and things like that. So don't think that Xi Jinping is going to make a major policy speech at this juncture. It's possible, but it doesn't seem consistent with their idea of continuity, of trying to face up to all these headwinds. As you've heard from my colleague, the ambassador, he takes a very dim view of China, sees things in the veil of a strongman politics. I can tell you that having written books on Chinese city and government, that's not the way it works. It's much more of a consensus situation, and you can see that in the way that China goes about dealing with RCEP and all of these SCO, etc. It is not about, like the U.S. saying, I have a veto, I can do this, I can do that, you have to be under my thumb. To the contrary, they invite people in, like under the SCO, they invited Pakistan and India in, knowing that it was not going to be easy, but not trying to push.
All right, we seem to be losing that link with Einar Tangen, but we've also come to the end of this discussion. Ambassador Prakash, thank you very much for joining us here on this program, giving us a sense of the 20th Party Congress and why it's also important for India to take cues from President Xi Jinping's speech there. We're going to take a short break at this point, but coming up on the other side, we shift our focus to the ongoing protests in Iran. We will be joined by Kameen Mohammadi, journalist, writer, and also Persis Karim. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up on the other side.